All right, yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome into A Bettor Morning, brought to you by Rival Fantasy, your all-in-one fantasy sports platform. It's your boy Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, coming at you on this Good Friday as we get ready to head into the third week of the NFL season. Got a couple games I want to break down and get into, give you my thoughts on a little bit later on in the program. Obviously, I mentioned Rival Fantasy. We'll get into challenges in Rival Fantasy for this week. I believe I'm undefeated over there. You can be like me, be undefeated, and make that bank account grow. So hop on over Rival Fantasy, the all-in-one fantasy sports platform. Let me see what else we got going on. Got to recap Thursday Night Football. We'll get to that in a second. And down there in the corner right there, it says Corey. If we can change that to the fantasy executive, that'd be greatly appreciated because you know what I'm saying? The brand is strong. Well, to be honest, it ain't that strong. Not the way these people treat, not these people, but in general. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, getting ready to hop into it. Got a cool 20 minutes. You got out there in the chat. You got some fantasy questions, sit, start, stuff like that. Pop them in the chat. I'll help you the best way I can with that one right there. What else we got? Yeah. A small story out the NFL yesterday. Dallas Cowboy All-Pro cornerback Trevon Diggs, unfortunately, tears his ACL and he's out for the season, torn in practice yesterday. Diggs, great player, All-Pro, Pro Bowl level type player, interception guy. You know what I'm saying? Just signed a big contract this year. The leader of the back end of that Dallas Cowboy defense. And the reason why I say, small story, yeah, it's a Dallas Cowboy player, it's a Dallas Cowboy defender, but cornerbacks don't really change the market when it comes to Super Bowl or NFC championship odds. As a matter of fact, Dallas Cowboy Super Bowl odds prior to the injury, plus 750. Super Bowl odds post-injury, plus 750. NFC championship odds prior to the injury, plus 350. These are all DraftKings Sportsbook. Odds prior to post-injury, like post-op, post-injury, same thing, plus 350. Definitely a playmaker, definitely a shutdown corner, but the Dallas Cowboy defense is built in the trenches. The Dallas Cowboy defense is built with a dominant defensive line, and the Dallas Cowboys defense runs through Micah Parson and the big man up in the booth and Dan Quinn. As long as Dan Quinn and Micah Parson are available, the Dallas Cowboy defense will be fine. Dallas Cowboy fans, no reason to really fret, no reason to worry. So with this Dallas Cowboy fan, what you got to worry about before you worry about Trevon Diggs? You got to worry about the quarterback, right? And listen, I'm being nice to the quarterback because he's played well so far this year. Very efficient the last game. Dallas ain't really played nobody yet. 2 weeks from now, they got a big matchup versus the 49ers. And that'll really start to tell the tale. We won't be able to judge Dallas until we get to January, until we get to the division round. All these games in the regular season mean absolutely nothing. So, like I said, if Micah Parson is there, if Dak Prescott is there, even if Dak Prescott is not there, as long as Micah Parson is there, I'm fine with the Dallas Cowboys. Being of the 49ers, they played the New York Giants last night. New York Giants, San Francisco 49ers, Thursday Night Football to kick off week number 3. San Francisco scores a 30-12 victory over the Giants. San Francisco covers a 10.5-point spread, and the under barely cashes by a half a point. Total closed at 43, and we see where the 42 comes in. So if you were on San Francisco in the under, congratulations, you rung those tickets up right there. New York Giants, we've seen this time and time again. As a matter of fact, 3 of the Giants' last 4 games leading back to last year's playoffs, they played the Eagles. They got their hiney smacked. Start off this year versus the Cowboys, hiney smacked. Then they play a lower-level team, Arizona Cardinals. They have to come from behind to win that game. They still up in competition again, the 49ers, hiney smack. So what you see about the New York Giants is, by all these hiney smackings by the good teams in the NFC, that they are not a good team in the NFC. They are a 6, 7, 8, 9. They're not a 1, 2, 3. Dallas, San Francisco, Philadelphia. Dallas, Philadelphia, San Francisco. That's the elite teams in the NFC. The New York Giants are not an elite NFC team, Well, how can you say that, fantasy executive? The proof was in the pudding. Like I told you earlier this week, football is tangible. You have a result. A result. The result says every time the Giants play a top team, they get their honey smacked. The Giants are more like the Bears, the Falcons, the Lions. They are in that area of the NFC, not an elite NFC team. So I don't want Giant fans thinking that they've got a team that can compete with the top of the NFC. As soon as they had one good season, everybody stuck their hand out and wanted to get paid. Get a quarterback that money that nobody else was going to give him. Saquon, Dexter Lawrence, Andrew Thomas, you know what I'm saying? Evan Neal's been a bust. Nice bounce back year last year. Still plenty of work doing Big D for that team to get back to being a team that can compete with the top teams in the NFC. Are they a playoff team? Yeah. They like the Vikings or a team like that. Don't get carried away with them. I wonder if the Giants could beat Tampa. That's how I'm looking at the Giants. Can they beat the Rams? Because you know they can't beat any of the other teams in the NFC. Looking at the box score, break down the numbers from last night. Daniel Jones, 22 of 32, 137 in the interception. Interception batted around a couple times. You know, it happens when you're throwing the ball that much. Not really where you want to see Daniel Jones at. For those of you who started Matt Breida, he got 4 carries, 17 yards. Bailed you out with a touchdown and a couple of receptions. Darius Slayton, 3 catches for 32 yards. If you're playing a New York Giant wide receiver in your fantasy lineup, then you must be in a 25-team league. Because you're not really going to get too much from guys like Darius Slayton, Gary Brightwell, Paris Campbell, Wan'Dale Robinson. It's just a bunch of single-point guys. So that's how that goes. Brock Purdy, fantastic. 25 of 37, 310, 2 touchdown passes, over 8 yards an attempt. When he's playing against lesser competition, Brock Purdy went ahead and tore the New York Giants up. Christian McCaffrey, listen, one of the most popular bets coming in to the night last night. Because you know how when coaches talk, people start to adjust their plans and stuff like that. So I think they said something about reducing carries for Christian McCaffrey. And everybody's like, oh, it's a short week, reduce carries. One of the most popular prop bets last night was Christian McCaffrey under 17.5 carries. Son had 18. I think BetMGM reported like 90% of the money on that prop was on the under. The over cashes by a single carry late in the game. That's got to stink. People didn't mention Elijah Mitchell yesterday. Mitchell carried the ball 11 times, 42 yards. Really, though, George Kittle got it done. 9 targets, 7 catches, 90 yards. I had George Kittle to score a touch. Right? That did not happen, unfortunately, for the fantasy executive. No touchdown for George Kittle. And I got him on a couple of... See, I got to be careful with that because I already got him on a couple of fantasy teams, so I like to hedge a little bit. But that was not a smart wager on behalf of the fantasy executive. I'm man enough to admit it. What else? Debo got it done last night. 6 for 129, 21 yards a catch, and a touchdown on 12 targets. Good to see Debo get back in that San Francisco 49er receiving game. He did carry the ball 1 time for 2 yards. Christian McCaffrey also had 5 catches for 34 yards. Up next for the New York Giants, a home Monday Night Football matchup versus the Seattle Seahawks. This is going to be a good test for the Giants. The Seahawks at home on Monday night. We get a chance to really see what the Giants are made of. Like I said, I think the Seahawks are a better football team than the Giants. The Giants are going to have to prove themselves on this when they don't want to drop to 1-3. After that, they go to Miami, then they go to Buffalo, and then they're home for a showdown versus the Commanders. Giants got to get ready to turn the page right now and start playing good football because they're not doing that right now. San Francisco 49ers, on the other hand, coming up for them next on the docket. They have a game versus the Arizona Cardinals. Then they got a Sunday Night Football showdown versus the Dallas Cowboys. I've been waiting all day for Sunday night. That's going to be Sunday night, October 8th. Cowboys, San Francisco, out there at Levi Stadium in the Bay Area. That joint going to be jumping. Could be a preview of the NFC Championship game. Don't get too mad at me, Philadelphia Eagle fan. Like I said, it could be a preview of the NFC Championship game, but the NFC clearly has 3 defined head honchos. You know what I'm saying? Cowboys, Eagles, 49ers, everybody else, you coming up behind that. That's where we stand with those 2 games from last night. Now, games I do want to take a look at and kind of focus on and spend some time on this week games I'm going to be having an eye on coming up for week number 3 on the Sunday schedule. Let me go ahead and pull that up right here. Let's start with this Atlanta Falcons, Detroit Lions matchup. I think this is a fascinating matchup right here because this opened up, I believe this opened up with the Lions as a 4.5-point home favorite. That number came through the 4.5, went to 4. That number came to the 3.5, and then number came through the 4 with the 3.5. Now the number has come through the 3.5 and it's going to 3. Now, you can still get a 4.5 at FanDuel. They're incredibly behind on this one. If that's over there, you can hit that right now for the Atlanta Falcons. But this number's down to 3, meaning that sharp money is coming in and hitting the Atlanta Falcons, respected money, things that the Falcons can go ahead and pull this one off, cover that number. That spread is too big. And then when you get to a 3-point spread, really people that are saying that the Falcons can come in there and win this game. Now, if the Falcons go into Detroit and beat the Lions this week, I don't hear nothing else about the Lions. All right? Then you can say, you can't tell me that the Lions are a team that's even up there with Seattle if they can't beat the Falcons. They're definitely not up there with the San Francisco 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles, or the Dallas Cowboys. Not. Ain't gonna happen. See what I'm saying? So, yeah, Goff is getting it done for your fantasy team. We'll see what the injury deal with St. Brown is this week. Let's see if he practices. I believe he was out there in a limited fashion yesterday. They got hella pieces on offense. They do. I give them their props for that. But if you can't beat the Atlanta Falcons and Desmond Ridder in your building with your joint jumping, with the expectations behind the team that these people had for this team this year, don't tell me nothing more about the Detroit Lions being a contender in the NFC. I don't want to hear that. If you can't beat Atlanta in your building, you're not an NFC contender. You're not the Seahawks. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to hear it. You're an NFC South team. If you can't beat the NFC South team, you need to be regulated to the NFC South. That's what I feel about them right now. So I'm going to keep a keen eye on that matchup right there. Right now, that number's down to 3. Heavy betting coming in on the Atlanta Falcons. Big Bijan Robinson in DFS this weekend. Get behind him. I like everything offensively, especially if we don't get St. Brown out there, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, whole deal. Jahmyr Gibbs, fire him up. You know what I'm saying? So should be some fantasy fireworks in this one. But when it comes down to it, if Atlanta wins this game, it's going to be on Dan Campbell. And Dan Campbell, listen, oh, man, I love you guys and all of that stuff. Listen, it's got to turn into wins. And it's got to turn into conference wins at home versus a team that you would think that most people would say that Atlanta is inferior to Detroit. Well, it can be inferior on paper, but I need to see it on Sunday afternoon. I'm taking the 3 with the Falcons. I'll buy the hook, take 3.5 with the Atlanta Falcons. Another NFC matchup I think is going to be fairly interesting this week is the one between the New Orleans Saints and the Green Bay Packers. Right now, Green Bay 1-1. This is their home opener this week. The Saints come into the building 2-0, feeling pretty good about where they stand right now. But the Saints have not played a legitimate NFL style of offense yet. They played the Titans, who can't move the football, and they played the Panthers, who can't move the football. Now they play a team that can move the football with the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love making his home debut. Jordan Love in Lambeau Field making his home debut. Hey, listen, let me tell you something. These dudes are stepping up. Love is QB2 in fantasy right now. Another 3 touchdown performance last week. All right? And you got the young man, Jaden Reed. He's stepping up, making some plays in that receiving game. Aaron Jones, more than likely on the wrong side of questionable. Luke Musgrave is making some plays. Dobbs has got 2 touchdown catches this year. Devontae Wicks. Listen, the names don't sound good, but guess what? They're getting the job done. It may not be household names, but they're putting up halfway decent results so far this season. Big home opener for Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, bringing the Saints into that joint. Look over here at my screen right quick. Let me see what we got over here, point spread wise. This is down to 1.5. Green Bay Packers are 1.5 point favorite. See some ones, So, oh, this is the wrong week. Excuse me. So basically, what we see right here is yes, Green Bay a 2-point favorite. I would lay the 2 with the Packers or put them in the money line. Put that money line in the parlay. I think the Packers is the side on this one. Even though New Orleans is 2-0, it's not like it's a flaccid 2-0. Let's just put it that way. It's not a strong 2-0. You know what I'm saying? It's a weak link 2-0. I don't look at that as a good, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to use that word. I don't look at it as a good, strong 2-0. It's a flaccid 2-0, right? Because I don't think the numbers are adding up correctly. They play 2 of the more poorer offenses in the NFC. So I'm not, in the league. So I'm not buying into that one right now. So those are 2 teams that are going to be keeping an eye on closer this week in those couple games in the NFC. As far as the AFC big showdown, well, I wouldn't even call it a big showdown. Sean Payton, you need to have a good performance. Sean Payton and Russell Wilson need to have a good performance in Miami this week. I'm willing to take the 6.5 with the Broncos. I do think the Dolphins win the game, but I need to see Russ and Sean Payton on the same page. I need to see that Denver offense making plays and clicking because Miami's going to give you the opportunities to do so. So that's where I stand right there. Kind of some of the things that I'm looking for going into this weekend as we get ready for another week of good old NFL action. Now, another way that you can enjoy that good old NFL action is on Rival Fantasy. So you can play in a number of games over there. Challenges, Fantasy Bingo. Right now, we can pull up the screen, Heather. I'll get in here and hop on here and start doing some Rival Fantasy. You know what Rival Fantasy is. You're all-in-one fantasy sports platform. Now, we're not doing Jameson Taillon and Shane Bieber. We go over here, click this NFL tab. Fantasy executive in the house, Rival Fantasy, A Bettor Morning. Let's get this spin going right here. So, yeah, told you already, Rival Fantasy, the all-in-one fantasy sports platform. Let me go ahead and give this a refresh so I can get y'all up to date, up to speed on this right here. All right, so I will get back to that right there. We'll get back to that right there, Rival Fantasy, because it is ready. And we'll see what's going on right there with Rival Fantasy. So we get that challenges up and we get y'all a couple plays before we get up out of here. Because, listen, I've had success on Rival Fantasy, and I want you guys to be the same. I want you guys to join me in that success. So go ahead. Yeah, that's what I did, Heather. So go right there because I do want to get a play in on Rival Fantasy for y'all. I really would enjoy if I do that because I want you to get this money over here like the Fantasy Executive has been doing so. So let's go back to challenges, NFL. All right. NFL just spinning. So listen, but basically what Rival Fantasy, the challenges is you have one player pitted against another player, and then you will pick which player that you think is going to have more fantasy points in a specific contest. We can go to it right now, Heather. Hold on, let me share the screen right there. Get you the Rival Fantasy up. And look at this, 2 of the dudes. Listen, this week right here, this is a good one right here. Because I think both of these players are going to be guys right here that we are going to be looking at as top performers this weekend. You got Trevon Diggs taking on that DC secondary. That's going to be a good game. And then you got Jamar Chase and the Bengals trying to figure out what they're going to do. I am going to, you know what, I was going to skip this one. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple dollars on Trevon Diggs. I think Diggs has a good game. So there you go right there. Rival Fantasy Challenges game. It's just really that simple right there. Let's see if they get another one up here for us and I can show you. Because some of the players I like this week, I think Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill will be the main guys you want to focus on in your challenges. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be in for a big week this week as well. So I would look at a couple of guys like that as guys that could be nice pieces for your challenges league. Let's get over right here. Trevor Lawrence and Jared Goff. I told you about Jared Goff, that big game that he has. Now, Trevor Lawrence is going up against a defense that has started off pretty well. I just like what the Lions do and how they run their offense. So I would go ahead with this one right here, and I would give the nod to Jared Goff, the quarterback for the Detroit Lions. So there you go right there. All right. That's probably still going to be the same, but so there are 2 challenges. But yeah, like I said, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, guys I like this week. I like Terry McLaurin. I like people from the Washington side to fight back. I like Michael Pittman again this week. I think they're going to use him a lot. And then you go right here, we got Mac Jones and Jordan Love. This challenge right here, I would go ahead and I would go with Jordan Love. Now, I do think Mac Jones has been throwing the football a lot this year, but I look at Jordan Love in that matchup. I think that home debut, I think it's going to be good. So I'm going with Jordan Love in that matchup right there. So there you go. Fantasy Challenges, the game from the good folks over at Rival Fantasy, naming sponsor of this program, and of course, Rival Fantasy, your all-in-one fantasy sports platform. Want to give a shout out to everybody for rocking in and tuning with us with us this weekend. Once again, thank you to the lovely and talented Heather Klein. It's your boy Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, wishing you a better weekend.